Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Chris Oakes, and today we're doing brakes on an Audi A5 S-Line. Brakes are one of the easiest things you can do at home to save money, so stick around to the end of the video to find out exactly how much we saved doing the brakes on this car. Now I'm just cracking the lug nuts loose before I get the car in the air. And then we gotta pray the key is still in the trunk to the lug nut. Got it. I always like to keep my lug nuts right by the jack, so I'm not going looking for them. I gotta put the car back together. Organization is the absolute thing to remember when working on cars. Find your method of organizing everything. When you take a car apart, label everything from 1 to 1,000 if you need to. And when you put it back together, work from 1,000 to 1. And generally that'll save your butt a lot of the time. We're gonna give Audi a call and see how much they would charge for this brake service soon, and stick around to the end of the video to see how much we spent to actually perform the job ourselves. So the first step, luckily front brakes are easy. We're gonna be pulling off the front calipers. So it's just 2 massive bolts and your caliper will be off. But we wanna be careful not to twist, especially in this case, the brake line, because this is actually a steel brake line that leads into a rubber flexible brake line. Normally it's just a rubber flexible brake line, but we're gonna be extra cautious today not to bend anything. Okay, so you wanna take the cap off your brake fluid reservoir, because when we push the piston back into the caliper, it's gonna increase the amount of fluid that's in that reservoir. So you wanna be careful to watch that while you're pushing the piston in to make sure it doesn't overflow, because brake fluid is highly corrosive. So if you're a smart man, you'd put a rag around there just in case some spilled out when we opened it. But we like to live on the edge, and luckily there was nothing there. But let's go ahead and put something around there just in case. Grab a hammer. Wow, let's see if it just comes out on its own. Oh, lucky. Over time, the rotor will rust to the hub assembly. So sometimes you need to persuade the that marriage to break up. So we're gonna give it a couple of love taps and see if it'll come off. Jesus. There we go. If we were in a shop and we had all the tools we needed, you really want to use a tool to clean this surface up, like a power tool. But today, I'm gonna use a little sandpaper. That's generally what I do. And then along with some copper or anti-seize paste, you'll prevent that from happening again. Something you gotta remember is, once you've touched this anti-seize, it will get on more things than you can imagine. You won't even know you have it on your fingers, and you'll look at your shirt in 10 days from now and you'll have anti-seize on it. So be careful what you touch after this. And you don't need much. You know, usually I don't think rotors like this have the oil on it, but just to be safe, it's always good to give it a spray. And pray. So traditionally, when you're replacing brake pads, it will rest on an area that will squeak. So when you hear your brake squeaking, it's usually this point right here, and we'll put anti-seize there to prevent that. In this case, Audi has engineered some Teflon into where your brake rests to prevent any squeaking. So we're gonna save some brake, some anti-seize today, because Audi has over-engineered their brakes. Okay, so as you can see with our new pads, there's a lot more meat on the pad. So as you wear and brake, this material will fade away, turning into that, meaning your piston has come out of its housing more. So to gain enough room to put our new pads back in, we have to compress the pistons back into their housing. If it fits, it fits. We're just adjusting these prongs a little bit because they were kind of pancaking. Hopefully that is the ticket. Lovely. Well, as we got our dirty hands all over the pads, which you don't want to do, I'm just gonna. Okay. Oh, can't forget. Our pin on the back side. Okay, we'll try and slide it on. Remember not to get discouraged when you're working on a vehicle that's new to you, that you're not familiar with how things come apart and go together. For me today, I haven't really worked on these newer vehicles, newer Audi specifically, that have electronic parking brakes, and it's a different style caliper than I'm used to. So the first time you do something, it's going to take exponentially longer than the second. So this has probably taken me about an hour just to figure out this one caliper and rotor, but the next ones will progressively get shorter to where I could do this in 10 minutes a side. So let's see if our caliper slides on nicely or not. Okay, home free basically. I'm not really gonna get in here. A lot of jiggling and wiggling can help you out when putting these back together. For me, I will only do a repair on a vehicle, or generally anything as a DIY, if I can do it to just about as good as if you hire a professional. I don't think it's worth doing stuff DIY if your work is going to be severely subpar. You definitely hire someone who knows what they're doing in that case. But if you feel like you've learned enough in a certain category that you can perform it almost as good as a professional, take it on. Let's see if there's enough room. Yeah, a little extra safeguard. So right now I'm just disconnecting the brake pad wear sensor brackets, all the little clips and things that keep it in place. And then back here we have our electric handbrake, which in a minute we'll show retracting that with the tool we've just got. Hopefully that goes smoothly. Okay, now we've got our caliper carrier off. We can get our worn out rotor off. You can see quite a bit of material has been worn away. That's why we're replacing them today. So in the last decade, there's a new thing that plagues DIYers, and that's electric parking brakes, and it's all connected to the caliper, so we need a way to retract that electronically so we can fit in our new rotors and pads. So we've ordered this tool. It's an Ansel VD500, and that should let us retract that parking brake. Let's give it a go. Just plugs into the OBD2 port. We can find where that is. Got it. Okay, let's go. We're gonna just listen to the device, turn on the ignition. Yep, so we've actually already turned the ignition on and not started the car. Release handbrake, it is released. So in a second when I hit enter, I think we'll hear the handbrake winding like a corkscrew into its housing. I think I hear it. Maybe not. Yep, done. Okay. Awesome. Now our electric parking brake has been retracted fully. That's like a corkscrew. That's why you can't just use regular brake tool to push this piston in. But now we have to do our traditional piston. So I'm gonna hook up the tool and we're gonna get that retracted. There we go. Right where the piston sits. Now we're putting our new brake pad wear sensor back on, and the reason you have to replace that every single time is because it's a circuit that once it breaks, it can no longer be completed, so you need a new one that has a connected circuit to send the signal back to the car that your brake pads are good as new. So we're just feeding things through. So always when you're taking it apart, remember where things come through. And even film yourself just to remember how to take stuff apart and put it back together. So, I don't know if we wound it in enough, but where are we at here? Yes, we did. Very nice. Just putting the brake pad wear sensor wire back in all of its homes, and this one was a pain to take off, but I think it's gonna be a little easier to put back together. We're almost there. There we go. Nice click. So I think this is all done. Last thing to do, nice spray down, because as you can see, I did touch it a little bit there.
Okay, so how much did we actually save doing the brakes ourselves on the Audi? Well, I inquired to my local Audi dealership, and for parts alone, they wanted $2,500. That's for rotors, pads, and 2 brake wear sensors, and other miscellaneous they tack on as well. If you account for labor as well, that's another $600 or $700 easy. So I spent $930 for all of that to do myself. Now, if you have the means to do so, I definitely recommend doing this. It's easy to do with basic tools. You don't need much. So definitely recommend you guys do this if you want to save some money.
Okay, this is a technique that's not for the faint of heart. Only the OG DIYers and at-home mechanics know this. If you have brake clean and you want to speed up the cleaning process a little bit, you can just hit yourself like that. Right in there, and then there we go. That's clean enough.
That's for the best, best quality.
You guarantee you'll get cancer, but it gets your hands clean. And then I remember this thing said after finished, press enter. So I think what it's gonna do is push the piston back out against the new pads and So yep. Yep, on. Release brake pump, please. I feel like there's not, we don't need to do the rest.
Nope, that was it.
No, yeah.
I heard it go.
Okay. Okay, thank you for sticking around to the end of the video and hanging out with us today. This wasn't really a formal how-to video, it was more just hanging out while we work on our cars, and you know, there'll be some of those videos to come, so make sure to subscribe. We got some exciting stuff on the horizon. Thank you guys, and see you next time.
Exclusive Crown Vic clubs. If you'd have asked me about that 10 years ago, I would have said, you're out of your mind.